After you.
Okay. The Marine Police Unit of the Ghana Police Service, well, they have arrested 12 persons for using illegal fishing equipment for fishing.
Well, 17 generators and 36 lighting bulbs attached to long cables were retrieved from the suspects. The suspects were returning from their normal fishing expedition when they were spotted and arrested. The 12 who were arrested in 3 different operations admitted their offences upon interrogation.
And so far, the unit is cautioning people using illegal methods for fishing to desist from the practice, as the unit will not countenance any act of lawlessness on our waterways. Well, there seems to be no end in sight to what has become known as the SADA story, and after Tuesday's report, which highlighted the desolation at the supposed afforestation zones of the Savannah Accelerated Development Authority, it turns out due process was not also followed in the award of the 32.4 million Ghana cedi contract to ACI Construction Limited.
Well, the company, which is a subsidiary of the Agams Group, was handed the contract without going through any competitive bidding. The audit report on SADA has flagged it a violation of the procurement law and recommends sanctions against former SADA CEO Gilbert Idi. Manasseh Azere Awene has more.
In June 2012, SADA awarded ACI Construction Limited a contract to plant 5 million trees on 300 project locations in 5 regions. The contract was worth 32.4 million Ghana cedis and was for 1 year, subject to renewal. Former CEO of SADA, Gilbert Idi, explains why the company was chosen.
The information that was available to me from what I received was that they had been doing a similar thing on the coastal, Savannah area.
Where exactly?
I think Central Region or somewhere. I'm not too sure. Central Region. I have the document that quotes it.
That ACI Construction had undertaken tree planting before?
Yes. Yeah. And that one, they had been involved in mobilizing youth for youth employment. And then 2, they've been involved in activities relating to environmental protection. And then 3, that they've been involved in planting of trees.
Joynews checks, however, revealed that the company did not have any track record of successfully undertaking tree planting projects. ACI Construction Limited was registered in 2010 by Roland Agambire and Miriam Ajavon. Its authorized business, according to information at the Registrar General's Department, were roads and building construction, civil engineering, plumbing and electrical installation, as well as dealers in building materials. Joynews also secured a contract signed between ACI Construction and the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology for the Youth in Coastal Sanitation and Waste Management project. The 2-year contract was to be renewed based on satisfactory performance, but it wasn't. Some key stakeholders of SADA have expressed concerns about how SADA selected this company and other service providers. Here is Northern Regional Minister Alhaji Limuna Muhammad Muniru.
We don't limit it to just a few hands to take advantage. That is normally the policies, the problems we face. You start it very nicely, but you shroud it in some secrecy and as if it's just a few privileged people. When that money could have been given to about 20 or 30 service providers and the benefits will be all over. So this time they should open it and make it a bit competitive. So that if you want to be a service provider, you go through a very critical way of achieving or getting it. So that people are really correctly selected, not just nobody even knows how service providers were selected.
Former SADA CEO Gilbert Idi, however, defends the decision to use sole sourcing in selecting ACI Construction.
The use of sole sourcing, because for instance, if you had decided to go through competitive bidding, I'm sure that the first tree planting would have been sometime this year. The process of going through bidding and all that is so long and
tedious. Is it how fast you do it or how well you do it that you are looking at here?
Both.
Okay, in this case, you've done it fast and then you see
it's a failure. Oh, it's not a failure.
The audit report says though the procurement law makes room for sole sourcing, the afforestation contract awarded to ACI Construction did not qualify under the law. It says the company did not have the capacity to execute the afforestation project, hence its failure. It recommends that management institute action to invoke sanctions against the former CEO, Alhaji Gilbert Idi, who signed the contract. Before I ended the interview, I asked Alhaji Idi what he would do differently if he were put in charge of SADA again. Surprisingly, his answer was different from his earlier defense of the contract.
There are certain things I'll do differently.
If you were in charge of SADA today?
Yeah, there are certain things I'll do differently.
What are some of them?
Like I'm telling you, the whole process of choosing a technical service provider and using sole sourcing, you know, I'll frown on it. That's number one. Then, which other one comes up immediately? Yeah, as far as the tree planting process is concerned, that is the biggest problem. Everything about the tree planting process is all right, except that people have questions about the person you have chosen. Not because you have chosen him, but there are question marks about him which you didn't know and which you didn't factor in at the time you were taking that decision.
Joynews has learned that SADA has contracted UDS to count the trees and report on the survival rate. It is not clear what percentage they will put out, but what is clear is that the 32.4 million Ghana cedis has worsened the vegetation cover of most of the SADA afforestation project locations. For Joynews, Manasseh Azore Arene reporting.
The Eastern Regional Police Command has warned criminals planning to attack holiday revelers during the celebration of this year's Easter festivities at Kwewu in the Eastern Region to back off. At a media briefing in Kofodia, the Regional Police Commander, DCOP Akuruba Yage, said the police would deal with unscrupulous persons who disturb the peace on the day of the celebration. Haruna Yusuf Umponi reports.
The media briefing by the Eastern Regional Police Command is to reassure the public of the police readiness and preparedness to ensure a peaceful celebration of Kwewu Easter festivities. The Eastern Regional Police Commander, Akuriba Yaje, reminded the police personnel in the region to exhibit competence and professionalism for the sake of the public. DCOP Akuruba Yaje explained that the police will use various forms of high-tech surveillance systems plus other measures to ensure peace and security.
To assure the populace of the readiness or preparedness of the police to ensure a peaceful celebration of the Easter and paragliding. We are to ensure the safety of the area designated for the activities by safeguarding holiday makers. Secondly, we are going to be professional in our dealings by upholding the tenets of democratic policing.
He urged the public to volunteer timely and accurate information to the police on issues related to crime.
We expect the public not to accept drinks, food, invitations, etc. from individuals that they are not familiar with, because in such festive occasions somebody might want to harm you, and these days if you are the journalist you see that this gang rape thing that came from India is now spreading fast. Most of the times you see students, young guys, 6 of them for gang raping women. So we expect that you don't accept drink. Maybe the drink will be laced.
The police has also provided the public with emergency numbers 0343 122 114 and 0574 092 040 at Nkoko and Praeso respectively to reach the district commander for assistance. Haruna Yusuf Umpini's reports from the Eastern region.
I will have to remain on law enforcement as the Special Operations Unit at the Presidency has impounded about 560 barrels of alcohol imported into the country by top industries. The task force has also apprehended some top officials, as it says, who were using the Free Zones Enclave as a conduit to evade taxes on goods amounting to some 93,000 Ghana cedis.
The Special Operations Unit at the Presidency, otherwise known as the Presidential Task Force, raided the warehouse of Excellence Company Limited that had in stock the expected 660 barrels of alcohol. Excellence Company Limited, which happens to be the buyer of the undeclared goods imported by Top Industries, had only 560 barrels. The Presidential Task Force maintains Top Industries has flouted the Free Zones Act by selling the imported raw materials and also evading the duty charge on the goods valued at 93,978.62 cedis.
The CID, working with the Special Operations Unit and the police and collaboration of customs, we were able to apprehend the said company officials. They have since given statements to the police CID. Investigations have commenced. They have admitted wrongdoing, and we would expect that the law would take its course. So we are going to leave no stone unturned to bring to book those public officials as well as unscrupulous private entities and companies which are conniving to defraud the state to book.
Dr. Clement Park added that about 280 companies last year evaded taxes and are still under investigations.
We have retrieved 320 million, and we had indicated that after that we're going to submit the file to the police CID. As I speak to you today, the CID has written to all of them and has been inviting them in batches of 10 to come and respond. The volume of work alone is enormous. So we are processing, the CID is processing them for court in batches of 10, and they've been going to respond, and many of them have actually paid, but they still have to face the full rigors of the law. We have noticed very quickly that some are trying to use the free zone system. Others are even trying to use the ports themselves as bonded warehouses, which also explains why there's a lot more concern about choking at the port. But we are up to the task.
The Presidential Task Force, however, located the remaining 100 barrels at the bonded warehouse of Top Industries in Tema, but found them empty. Abigail Admakwenchi for Joynews.
Well, we turn attention to education now, and hundreds of children in Old Fadama here in Accra are out of school because the slum, home to over 100,000 people, has no public school. Privately owned schools running some makeshift structures, and they're springing up in the community to cater for the vulnerable children. Justice Beidou filed this report.
Inside Old Fadama, Ghana's largest slum, pupils march to class to begin the day's work. Over 150 of these children study in this 30 by 25 feet kiosk, which during the day is called the Blessed Complex Preparatory School. After school, however, it becomes a video game and football viewing center, which means on days when there is a big game, the classroom has to be emptied early enough for the setup to begin.
There are certain things that we may need to survive. One of them is what? Food. You all agree with me. How many of you did not eat this morning? Let me see. How many of you did not eat this morning? Everybody has eaten. What did we eat this morning? Rice. What did we eat this morning? Rice.
There is unbearable heat as children from creche to class 3 aged between 2 and 10 years learn in this cramped structure together. Recent figures put people living in this community to well over 100,000. But these people living here have no access to basic amenities like health and education. This is because city authorities continue to regard settlers here as illegal. The closest public school is 5 kilometers away. Children who are able to make it through the makeshift school end up there after class 3. 32-year-old Saka Mohammed set up the Blessed Complex School 6 years ago. He says those who make it into his school can count themselves lucky, the inadequacies notwithstanding. He, however, cannot say same for the thousands others who live in the slum without access to any formal education at all.
The people in this community are financially poor. They cannot help their children to attend other private schools. So because of that, the condition here is very, very hard. So we thought of it that why not putting up something like this so that we can help the poor and needy children in this community.
Mariama Mohammed is 13 and has never been to school in her entire life at Old Fadama. She now prepares porridge for sale for a commission. Many of her peers are in the same situation and in most instances find themselves having to fend their babies too. Saka says government's decision to deny the community development project in order not to encourage settlement is affecting the lives of the people.
Community, we are lack of social amenities in this community. As you can see, hospital, schools. So the community have to bring up all that they can just to support their people. That is all. Other than that, we will suffer.
It is not clear when help would finally arrive for these children, but they keep hope alive. Some manna will fall soon.
And that report was filed by Justice Baidu. We still stay in education. The Progressive People's Party has blamed the numerous challenges confronting the education sector over the past 12 years on the various governments it says have poor organizational structures. At a news briefing here in Accra, the party called for a national debate on how to implement the free compulsory education through senior high school.
The PPP believes budgetary allocations for the education sector is too small to carry out the agenda of ensuring quality education.
This year, 2014, 16.1% of the total national budget of 36,209,423,662 cedis was allocated to education, making a figure of 5,816,315,034 cedis. But the percentage that is set aside for education reduces. And if you have a government that does not seek to increase the expenditure in education, when its expenditure or when the national budget has increased, then of course we cannot have a policy on education that will be relevant enough for the improvement of our educational sector. And that is one reason for which we, the PPP as a political party, thinks that our educational policy is a better alternative to the good people of Ghana.
According to them, mismanagement of the educational fund is also a contributory factor to the challenges.
Now, GET Fund, which is a government fund that sponsors education in the country with a contribution of 2.5% from VAT revenues, is the second largest financier of education in Ghana. In England, state-run schools and colleges are financed through national taxation. So when you go to England, for instance, the national taxations or the national taxes that are collected are not set aside for the payment of judgment debts. If you do that, then you prioritize payment of judgment debts to or before education, which is wrong.
He also outlined the PPP's policy to tackle the challenges in the sector.
The direction to go is one, to make teaching an attractive profession. How do you make it an attractive profession? By not raising such flimsy excuses to withdraw allowances. Now, as it stands now, there is a teacher deficit, professional teachers, deficit of about 140,000. And as it stands now also, about 40% of teacher trainees have not returned to school. Ask yourself why.
The Progressive People's Party believes an all-inclusive effort from the various institutions will aid the progress of the educational sector.
Well, we have to go to the courts.
The Accra Financial Court, presided over by Justice John Najet-Assam, will today give its ruling on whether the charges against Alfred Agbeshi-Woyome regarding the receipt of 51.28 million Ghana cedis judgment debt will be dropped or he will be ordered to open his defense. Mr. Woyome, the embattled National Democratic Congress financier, who is facing charges of defrauding by false pretense and causing financial loss to the state, has had a team of 4 lawyers representing him in the trial that has been ongoing for nearly 2 years. But he has filed a submission of no case through his counsel, Osafo Boabeng, praying the court to dismiss the charges against his client as the state had not done enough to prove any wrongdoing on his part.
Turn attention to health, and health authorities are beginning to worry a great deal about the level of misuse of insecticide-treated mosquito nets and its impact in the fight against malaria.
Well, according to them, instead of being used to ward off mosquitoes, people who have these nets use them as nets for fishing, for farming, and even wedding gown veils. The concerns came up at the launch of World Malaria Day here in Accra.
At the launch of World Malaria Day, which is marked on 25th April every year, the Ministry of Health and the Ghana Health Service highlighted progress made with the malaria eradication in Ghana. It is a day for a unified commemoration of the global efforts to combat malaria impacts on the economic development and health of countries, especially those in Africa. The group seized the occasion to highlight the devastating effect of malaria on societies and why it needs collaborative efforts in the fight.
As you can see, we still have malaria. Even though in Greater Accra, prevalence is about 4%. If you go to Upper West, it's 51%. Until we are able to say that malaria is truly eliminated from the country, we have to continue to invest. And therefore, in investing, we are talking about putting in money, making sure you build capacity so that you have the correct people to manage, also making sure that the people themselves, Ghanaians themselves, are adequately informed, okay, so that they handle and prevent themselves from getting malaria.
She is worried. Attitude of Ghanaians against the fight is depressing.
The major challenge is with our own people and their attitude. Malaria, it is not, no, should I say, it's not every fever which is malaria. I mean, I have been singing this song for so many years now, I don't know what to say. Fever represents symptom of many diseases. And therefore, when you feel you have fever, get tested to be sure that you have malaria parasites before you take the medicine. So the challenge is this over-treatment with malaria.
They're supposed to hang the nets up and sleep under them. But we have heard that some people are not sleeping under them. And some people are cutting it and using it for other things. I've been using it for their backyard gardens. I don't know why they will use the nets for their backyard garden, maybe to protect their plants from the goats, but I think it's a wrong use of it. Others are using it for, I hear they are using it for dressing centers, but there are cheaper laces around. So I think that as a country, we should use what the nets have been brought here for us to use it for, because they are treated with insecticide to kill mosquitoes, for us to protect ourselves from malaria. So we really have to use the nets the way somebody said they are even using it for wedding gown veils, but I don't think that is the right thing to do.
The group also adds funding for the malaria control program is falling, and that is affecting efforts at further reducing recorded malaria cases in Ghana.
Well, a very fascinating conclusion by the Ghana Health Service and authorities of the Ministry of Health.
Yeah, we've become rather very creative.
Yeah, I mean, using insecticide-treated nets for other things. I know that though it's used in tilapia farming. I've witnessed it before. Yeah.
Why, is it because mosquitoes worry tilapia?
No, not really.
Okay.
It's got no correlation with what it's supposed to do. But I think because the material used for the treated nets is cotton, I think, and then the holes are also smaller. And they
okay, because I'm thinking if it's used for a wedding gown veil, it's probably to prevent mosquitoes from getting to the...
It's used as a wedding gown, the white ones?
Yeah, that's what we're hearing.
Well, I think there are a lot more laces around, lace materials.
Yeah, maybe that's why it's supposed to prevent mosquitoes from, you know, getting around the couples.
Well, there's something that is always celebrated each year by the multimedia group, not only Joy FM but also Multi TV and the rest of
the entire crew.
Okay, it's called the Easter Soup Kitchen, and a lot more people want to make their presence felt on today's event.
Well, former Minister of Trade and Industry in the Kufuor administration and NPP flag bearer hopeful Alan Tremating has donated assorted items worth thousands of Ghana cedis to support the Joy FM Easter Soup Kitchen initiative.
Alan Tramantin described the donation as his widow's mite to support the less privileged in society and called on other philanthropists and organizations to use the upcoming Easter festivities to support the less fortunate in our society.
Alan Tramantin was accompanied by members of his campaign team and other supporters of the NPP. The items donated included bags of rice and several cartons of assorted beverages.
I'm doing this again, making this donation for charity, for two reasons. First, because I believe that charity is service to God, it is service to mankind. For the Holy Bible tells us that it is in giving that we shall receive. And the whole foundation of Christianity lies in giving. But secondly, also equally important, is the fact that around this time, around festive occasions, this is the period where the pain of destitution, of vulnerability, of being disadvantaged is felt most. Because this is the time when those of us who can afford have more to eat and actually waste what we have. And so I think that it is appropriate that whilst we could probably not do this every day, that particularly around festive occasions, when we are enjoying, that we also remember that the others who do not have this benefit.
The items were received on behalf of the Multimedia Group Limited by the Human Resource Manager of Joy FM. Alan Tramantin also donated an undisclosed sum of money to support the initiative. When asked about his political future, the former trade minister was silent on the issue, but promised to address the media in due course.
Easter Soup Kitchen is powered by your superstation Joy 99.7 FM with support from our cherished listeners and clients.
So we have to say congratulations to Alan Tramantin for a yeoman's job done, especially helping the less privileged in our society. And you can see the interaction. You know the people who accompanied him. Let's not comment about it.
Yeah, but let's stick to Easter. You can be part of the Easter Soup Kitchen, which is this Sunday. You can be at the SADA Children's Park to support, to volunteer.
This Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
I will be there.
You can also come in if you have some cash you want to give out, or you have some few things you want to give out as well. You can bring it to Joy FM in Kokomlemle. We thank you.
Okay, so that'll be it for now. We have to give you a recap of our top stories for the morning. And health authorities say people are using mosquito-treated nets for fishing, farming, and sometimes they suspect as wedding gown veils.
Well, also hundreds of children in Old Fadama out of school because the slum, unfortunately, has no public school.
And talking about getting a grip on crime, Presidential Task Force raided some officials of top industries and they've arrested some of them, impounded 560 barrels of alcohol in the Free Zones Enclave.
All right, so that's it for the AM News. Stay with us, though. We'll bring you sports. It's brought to you by Cowbell in just a little tiny bit. Stay with us.
I'll be right back. Let's talk about this. It could have been an event that could not have been, but Bukom Banku and Aite Powers, they've assured boxing fans, not only in Ghana but around Africa, that there will no longer be any more hitches as the countdown to their May 16 bout begins for their epic fight, codenamed Judgment Night. Well, the two boxers gave their words at a press conference in Accra.
The battle lines have been drawn. And come May 16 at the Accra Sports Stadium, the much-awaited boxing encounter between Brian Makamoko, alias Bukom Banku, and Michael Okain, alias Aite Powers, will finally come alive after both boxers gave assurance of their commitment The two boxers gave their words at a press conference this morning at the Crossport Stadium organized by Box Office Sports Promotions under the auspices of the Ghana Boxing Authority as well as DSTV Super Sports, broadcast sponsors who have donated a modern boxing ring for the mega fight. Aite Powers retreated his desire to fight Bukum Banku.
Victory is mine. I'm going to knock this guy 6 rounds. That's it. I know this guy. This guy is coming to throw slapping, and I'm going to give him correct punch, and he's going to be down. That's it.
And he got a daring response from eternal rival Bukum Banku.
I'm also training her to come and stop Aite Powers because Aite Powers is not my class. Always he's shouting.
GBA Chief Lawyer Peter Zwen has expressed delight that all issues have been settled and the fight is coming on, and minds no words when describing the essence of the non-title cruiserweight bout between Banku and Powers.
I must say that myself and other members of the board are very relieved about the turn of events.
Meanwhile, Alex Intia Mwabwache, CEO of the Box Office Sports Promotions, has assured fight fans who already bought tickets with the April 18 date that it will still be valid, even though the fight date is now May 16.
We sold some tickets with the 18th of April written on it as the date. The tickets that has been bought, they are still valid, and still we have some of that stock.
Ticket prices range from 100 Ghana cedis for VVIP, 50 Ghana cedis for VIP, and 10 Ghana cedis for popular stand.
Well, if you're a fan of boxing, don't be fooled. Those two are really good friends. But let's see what their own fans say about now the commitment by the two of them to really make sure their fight comes off.
I'm very happy that the fight is coming on. Yeah. But I think it will be a one-sided fight.
We are ready for the fight. I actually support Aite Powers, and I think it's a very good boxer. Initially, let me say, he was a businessman. You know, he prefers to pick the losing bonus instead of the winning bonus. But now we went to see our pastor, and he prayed for us. So I think things are going to turn around.
So we are waiting for it, but I'm sure, I'm telling you the truth. Powers is not fit Banku. Every fellow. Oh, no, you know that six rounds, you know, this.
Powers will beat Banku. Banku is doing 2-0. Every day you do rough roads.
Banku, that one, you know, is not the bosser. The road fights, nobody. Because I'm telling you honestly, but who's Powers?
Based on the records, when you check their records, Banku is a good boxer, based on one or two things. But I think this time we're going to stop him. It's going to be first in history. We'll stop Banku.
Powers is fighting outside Ghana, so he's going to, though he is in a catchweight division for Brema Kamoko, but I know the strength from Powers that Powers is going to win this fight.
I just go all off the fear. I just go.
I support Bukum Banku. I know surely Bukum Banku will defeat Aite Powers.
We know that very soundbite about Jasko. You know about that very Nigerian comedian Papa Jasko, and I guess trying to draw some similarities with the hairstyle of Aite Powers. And they say they're going to destroy it. But now let's turn our attention to the local Premier League. That is the first Capital Plus Premier League, and there were some midweek matches. We have Inter Allies, they face off with Wa All Stars, and during that very hosting of that very match, they were able to beat them 1-0. Heart of Lions drew against Adriana Stars, and so improving at least the chances of Adriana staying up in the first class Capital or the first Capital Plus Premier League. And Liberty Professionals, they also won against Cape Coast Ebusian Drafts 1-0 on their home ground. Kim Faisal, they hosted Amidans Professionals, they won 3-2, and the match between Hazakes and Kumasi Asante Kotoko was a draw. It was 1-1. Bechim United 1, Edubiasi FC 0, Brekum Chelsea 1, Hearts of Oak again losing 0, and we have the last one. And Hearts of Oak again giving you all the indications that they're having a tough time under their own coach and legend Mohammed, the dribbling magician Polo. So in our subsequent sports programs or bulletins, will bring you all those goals that we are making sure you're missing this morning, just to give you that suspense for it. Well, that'll be it for the sports for the morning. It's brought to you by Cowbell.